Hello, everyone. It's been an exciting evening for sure. So today we're going to talk a little more about how you can build your business to go global, how you can build a consulting skill set, how do you can build up your mindset for success, or how do you can build a business which you can build more partnership and grow moving forward. Same time, there's a lot of exciting things happening in the middle of the COVID. There's a trade agreement happened between Vietnam and Europe as well too. So today we have someone who has been very experienced about in this space, about international trade and consulting. His background, he's currently a managing partner from CEL Consulting. He's also co-president of La French Tech Vietnam. He's also co-founder of Vietnam Supply Chain. And also he's also a board member of a French Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam as well too. So ladies and gentlemen and all the viewers, I would like to introduce you. Today's our guest in our show, Ask John Show, Julien Burn. Hi, Julien.
Hey everyone, ciao. How are you, John? Good to be with you guys today.
I'm also very delighted to have you too, Julien. How's the day so far? Everything going good, right?
Fantastic day, yeah. I'm closing. The week is flying through so fast these days, so I can't see time flying. But yeah, everything's good.
So, Julien, right now, I think there's a lot of people having this problem. They got like multiple role, or even sometime in one role. They don't know actually how to manage this role, and they've been always messed up and in terms of productivity and getting things done. So what you have been like doing multiple type of roles at the same time. So please share to our viewers that how do you manage those multiple roles and getting things done? You must have some kind of drills. Share your tricks about this.
Yeah, it's a good question. And when I was younger, a while ago, I had always this question to myself: how people can be president, board member, X and Y, and how they manage all that. And in fact, I realized that the bigger, and that's a general statement, but the bigger the titles, the less time you may spend in those roles, because your role is either gives strategic direction, or provide perspective, or provide leadership also, and that takes energy, but not necessarily a lot of time. So it's a matter of seeing your big stones and what you want to prioritize, what you really want to spend time on for long term, and what you can fit, adding a lot of value into small slots of your time. And myself, I tend to work all day in my working time. In the evening, I spend half an hour for my role in French Tech, half an hour for another role, and every day you build up a little bit of a follow-up, and it starts to be manageable. Though I don't have kids, and that makes a big difference also, I heard.
All right, so from your point, I can see there's some key thing you mentioned about focusing, being effective at work. I think this is something you mentioned, and for this one, there was a book, Effective Executive. I think that's something very important. You said that it's not about how much time you spend, it's about how expert you are to getting things done, and that will help you to move forward. You mentioned about time management, you managing the time. You also mentioned that you were doing things in the evening as well too. So yes, it's not about just getting 9 to 5 o'clock, but actually you need to do more. And you're doing it. And you also mentioned another key thing about following up about things so it actually keep moving forward. So I think those are the 4 good tips you just shared with your conversation. So I just wanted to get in related thing about this one. You began a mechanical engineer. It was your background into it, but now you're very much founding partner, nonprofits. How do you make that transition? A lot of people, let's say a teacher and retiring as a teacher, a lot of staffs are getting into one job and retiring, or 50, 45 years old, still doing the same thing. How do you make this kind of big transition in your career?
Yeah, it's a bit of a natural thing, but it comes and relates to time management. The biggest question is how can I manage my time effectively, and there's always better ways to do. But what I learned over time is, and that's a difficult skill to get, but that's one that will take you very high, is delegation. And an engineer, as I am originally, likes to do stuff, likes to work on the details, like to make things, consistent and so on. It's really doing things, and that's very painful to let go and delegate to people that will not necessarily do as well as you would have loved. But you start to feel that, yeah, it's probably enough, and I can take time to take a bit of distance and add value by giving direction and not doing. And that makes a big difference, and that leaves a lot of time and space for thinking, for taking perspective and coaching people to actually execute. And the less you execute, the more you lead. And that's the transition that takes quite a while to realize. But delegation has been a skill that I'm still trying to develop. But that's been probably the difference, and that what took me at a more management and strategic role, I would say.
So you mentioned about a few things. Number one is the time management. Number one, learn about how to delegate. Did you have to build any particular different skill set to make this kind of role to transit?
Yeah, delegation. Delegation. At the beginning, you need to know what you delegate, and being able to say, okay, that's the piece of code I want. That's the feature I want in my software. That's the customer I want to prioritize. You set your expectations, and setting expectation is probably in a clear manner is probably not as easy as people realize. Making things clear. I want this for that date. That simple statement is not always easy, and a lot of managers and leaders have difficulty to be clear on setting expectation. So the ability to use the right word to describe the right intent is key. So I really insist on wording and phrasing things in a very clear and consistent way. And then people start to say, yeah, I understood, let me do it. And then you let go. So I think phrasing the requirement is a good way to delegate easily.
All right. So let's talk about if you want to. Everybody has a different style in terms of when it comes to communicating to the team. Mm-hmm. So when you're communicating, you want to be you are delegating with someone. So how do you really? What is your framework? Normally, core message, a structure of your message when you are delegating someone, and probably you can share us when do you decide that this task should be delegated to that person and can do it.
Well, so I used to start with the what. So what are we talking about? We're talking about a feature or a report or an email that you need, an important email to send. So what we're talking about, and then what's the objective? What's the intent? So the context, what, the intent, what's the outcome, and then the how. You don't describe the how. They need to figure out. But understanding the what and the why is probably the two aspects you need to be clear with when you delegate. The how is not your concern. This is the person you delegate to that will have to figure out. So letting go the how is also a difficult thing. I think to delegate what and why, and done. And when, of course, the when is.
How do you decide it's the right time to delegate? Do you there's different manager has different style. They like to prepare it in the last moment and then do the firefighting and then delegate, or some manager, no, you go first, you fail, and then you can bring it to me. What's your style? When do you like to delegate?
It's a bit on the fly, to be frank. I don't have a very structured way of doing. I tend to avoid long meeting, and that's meeting helps to structure the time, and that we have a weekly meeting to delegate tasks. And I don't function this way. It's a bit of a project type of mode. We sit down when we need. We have some discipline in managing meeting time to be able to be straight to the point. But it's a bit on the fly, and people have different style, but I don't like over-structured type of thing where things have to be said in the particular context. I can go to a developer in my team and say, that's what we need for next week. I need you to figure out how, but I need it for next Tuesday, and I need it for that purpose. So it needs to be at that level of quality. And then you let go. And if you need to observe sometimes, say, how is it going? But if you trust, over time, it pays back. And people really gain autonomy. And when you have an autonomous team, you're close to success, usually.
I think you just said a keyword. I think the trust, and when you have an autonomous team, and then you're very close to success. Yes, that's the word. So let me get back to this nonprofit side of you. So when you are working in this nonprofit environment, what are the key challenges do you face in Vietnam?
So the nonprofit work I've done was mostly in Africa, in fact. So it was.
Love to share. But how was in Africa? I'd love to hear.
So it was before Vietnam. Just before Vietnam, I spent a couple of years in an NGO in Africa, and I was in charge of distributing food for refugees. There was a civil war in West Africa, and there was 500,000 refugees in camps, and I was in charge of distributing food to 500,000 people on a daily basis. So it was a lot of logistics of receiving tons of foods, and it was quite hectic and exciting. But at the same time, you can't mess up, because at the end of the day, it's not just a shelf that is empty; it's the stomachs of millions of dollars. So you got a bit of pressure, if you see what I mean. And that's where I learned how to deliver. No, stop bullshitting about this and that. You need to deliver, and that's the most important. And that's where I probably got this transition into consulting and saying, at the end of the day, I can put a lot of fancy marketing around what I do, but that's what I'm gonna deliver. And once you're clear on that, people start to trust you. So, NGO has been also this helping to transit back to business, because I was also in business before. But the key learning beyond fantastic human experience I had was, when you feed people, when you're in charge of bringing them food, you don't have the choice of making it happen. And that's been a fantastic learning for me.
What are the key learning on that for you? Would you like to share?
It's been a tough experience also. It's been, you're under pressure 100% of the time. It was a bit of a dangerous environment in rebels area and so on. So you don't necessarily feel very comfortable. So you're working in a stressful environment has been something I've experienced early enough to maybe take that away over time and develop that further. But I think, and funnily, I've learned most of what I do today back in my days where I was just moving food from one place to another to feed people. And that's quite a stretch. And that's where I've also adapted to, I'm a mechanical engineer, so I need chains and pulleys and stuff. And here I was just moving trucks and boats and stuff, and it was very different from my background. But good common sense make it work, and you figure it out. And after, you trust yourself in adapting into any kind of situation. And that's why I moved to Vietnam. I say, well, that's very different from what I experienced, but I love it. I will make it, and I will probably be successful here.
Fabulous. I can see when you say that there is a lot of passion and a lot of enthusiasm in your face. Yeah, that's I'm sure that has been a super challenge. But I think the work has been very meaningful for you, because you've been delivering food, and it's not about the shelf; it's about the stomach is empty. I think that was great. So viewers, it has been a great talk to listen about Julien Burn's experience about this one. So now we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, we're going to talk about the core part of today's talk, where we talk about the consulting skill, business skill, and we're going to talk about those Vietnam agreements, what is there for founders, what is there for SMEs, and how to build partnership as well too. So stay with us, and we'll be back in just 2 minutes of time.
I'll be around.